All right, good morning, trade pros. Welcome to their morning market update for Monday, October the 15th, 2018. This is George Papsoff from Trade Pro Academy. Let me just turn around and face you guys because that's the right thing to do. In today's morning update, we're going to talk about a lot of things: Sears, Saudi Arabia, and I'm trying to find another S and something else that happened. All right, so we have a really big morning market update today. Let's get started. Let's jump right into it. Last week was full of volatility, and I think this week's going to be the same. So we got to be prepared to trade volatility. Before I start getting into the actual content, I want to open it up by saying this. Professional traders at institutions, when there's volatility like this, might catch this. You might be surprised by this, but they actually reduce their size. All right, so if they're reducing their size to take advantage of the larger movements, you should be too. You know, there's a lot of opportunity to make a lot of money, but that opportunity also translates to lose a lot. So don't get butchered. That's the only goal. Make money, whatever you're comfortable with, but don't put big size on as if it's July or August and the market's barely moving. And even then, you should be trading lower size. All right. So lower scale today, but you're going to have opportunity, and it's a very pivotal moment for the market. Do we retrace from here, or do we go down? And the amount of volume that we see on either one of those moves is going to be very indicative. If we see a recovery this morning, which I think we're going to see a bit of a rally for buy stops, and the volume's increasing, you might have a shot to go a little bit higher. If that rally has no volume at all, we're going to have no chance to recover, and down we go again this week. All right, today and tomorrow are pivotal. This week on Wednesday, we have the Fed meeting minutes. This morning, we had retail sales that missed. I'll talk to you about that in a second. First, let's take a tour around the world. In Asia, Japan's down 2%. Hong Kong's down 1.4%. China's down 1.5%. And India's up 0.4%. So Asian markets got kicked in the chops once again to start the week. And I'm going to do a video this week on the China-U.S. trade story, and it's going to be very eye-opening. I'm just preparing it. It's going to be huge. It's going to be great. I'm going to tell you guys why there actually needs to be a deficit with China in order for the U.S. To prosper. And I'll tell you guys why that's the case. Look forward to that this week. All right, Asia markets are down at the moment. In Europe at midday, London's flat. Paris is down 0.3%. Frankfurt's up 0.2%. There was a meeting scheduled for this Monday afternoon to discuss the Brexit deal with EU negotiators and the UK. That meeting has been scrapped. It's been called off. They're meeting next on Wednesday, all right, to discuss Brexit, but the chances of a clean Brexit according to plan, how people voted for it, by the end of March is now slim to none. So there's going to be some kind of other counter discussion or counter agreement of some sorts, but we're starting to miss the deadlines, and it's becoming close to the ultimate deadline of leaving the European Union on end of March. So there's a little bit of a snag there, and that's affecting the currency market, primarily the UK pound. All right, futures in the United States, Dow is down 0.4%. S&P is also down 0.4%. NASDAQ's down almost a whole percentage point. But we do have Bank of America's earnings coming to the rescue. This morning, they reported a third quarter profit rose 32% on $7.16 billion of revenue for the quarter versus 5.42 the past year quarter. That's a huge growth quarter or year over year on a quarterly basis, up 32%. The market's taken note. Bank of America's up 0.3%. Bank of America has severely underperformed the S&P 500. So I think this is a welcome report from a weaker stock that could spark some life into the financials. That sector, XLF, is the ETF that you could track with. And there's going to be a little bit of hype around that this morning. And I can tell you traders are trying to use that as grounds to build on a little bit of a rally. But I think the rally is short-lived, and it's counter-trend at this point. So waiting to sell rallies remains the play for the beginning of this week. But I do expect to see some upside early on in the U.S. session. What could end up happening is a little sell stop run, head fake, and continuation higher until about mid-afternoon where it's really going to get hit. That's usually how it goes. If mid-afternoon we start rallying and have a strong market until the close on decent volume, this rally might extend out into tomorrow and Wednesday morning when we see the Federal Reserve meeting minutes from their September 25th, 26th meeting. That's when they decided to hike rates. So very important meeting, and now we're going to see the minutes and what was said in the discussion leading up to the decision to raise rates. That's Wednesday at 2 p.m. All right, here's an interesting stat. The Dow Transportation Average, which includes 20 of the largest companies from truckers, logistics, and shipping companies, is down 9.3% over the past 4 weeks. It's one of the Dow principles that when the transportation's average is weaker than the overall industrial index, the Dow itself, then that signals a drop or correction coming, and it's worked. All right, it's down 9.3% over the past 4 weeks. The S&P 500 is not. All right, so keep an eye out on the Dow transportation's average as well. Here's one interesting thing that I want to tell you guys today, and not many people knew this. I pulled some stats for 2018, and this was before, actually this is as of the end of Friday. So we know that the US market dropped, and residents of the US and traders who predominantly trade US assets said, wow, that's a huge drop. However, the drop was a divergence that needed to be corrected because globally all equities were down except for US markets. And that's where the problem was. Global markets are dropping. The S&P 500 was on a rocket ship higher. And at some point, that had to end with either what happened or all other global markets are going to rally. And that's the less likely scenario. So what we got is healthy, it's disciplined, and it needed to happen. All right, the market needed to do that. So we shed some buyers and some late longs. In Japan, the market was down 5% in 2018, is down 5% so far. In China, the market's down 22%, officially in a bear market. Emerging markets down 17%. Eurozone down over 11%. So every single massive region of the world whose market counts for something is down. And that's really the key thing you need to watch. We were talking about emerging markets a few weeks ago. They're back into play. So that was kind of what shook the foundation under the S&P 500 to drop. Now all eyes are on the US. Can we recover from the sell-off early week, or is it just going to continue lower? Right? Crude oil's up 0.7% over some Saudi Arabia, US tensions. Gold's up 1%. It's broken above 1230. Bitcoin's up 5.3%, but only back up to its 6,500 range where it's sat in the whole time. All right. We were curious to see if the Bitcoin market and cryptocurrencies would get an inflow of volume on the selling as a safe haven. That didn't appear to be the case. In fact, it was correlated to the US equity market. All right. So that's not great for Bitcoin. 8:30 this morning, we got retail sales. I told you it was going to be a long morning market update. We had retail sales that missed. All right, so that negates the Bank of America optimism a little bit. It came out at 0.1% September advanced retail sales versus 0.6 expected. It's not just a miss of 0.1%. It's a whiff. All right, it's telling you consumers are spending less. Some people are going to blame Hurricane Florence. Other people are going to blame other things. But at the end of the day, consumer spending drives the U.S. economy. It's all about consumption in the United States, and for that matter, globally. Right? There's net importers and net exporters. So when consumers are consumers, they either have to create all those goods locally to consume, or they're going to have to import them for cheaper in order for them to be able to consume more on volume. And that's where the China-U.S. relationship comes into play. But there's so much more to it than that. That's kind of just the scratching the surface. I'm going to give you guys a really good update coming up later on this week. All right, X-Auto, month to month, it's down 0.1%. So we've slipped into negative territory. So if you exclude automobiles and look at the retail sales, they're down even more. They're in negative territory. All right. It's not slower growth. It's just a negative number. It's heading the wrong way versus 0.4. Prior month revised lower. X-auto sales and auto sales included. 2 revisions lower. That's not good. So far, that's a bad report this morning. It's bearish. Let's see how the market takes that. Last but not least, stock indexes are lower. There's some tensions between Saudi Arabia and the U.S. out of Riyadh, and this all goes to a journalist who moved to the United States and was initially, he's very close to not just the current leadership, but prior leadership in Saudi Arabia, right? Not just MBS, but the leader before him, and he knows a lot of information about the Saudi government and operations, a lot of intricate information. He was a very trusted advisor and reporter in Saudi Arabia. So he goes to Turkey or Istanbul in Turkey and disappears in the consulate of Saudi Arabia in the country. The day of, an airplane of 15 people arrives and leaves that same day with mysterious black boxes. All right, they just flew to the airport and they're gone. What happened to him? What's suspected to happen to him is it's sick. All right, and there's an investigation now ongoing. Donald Trump this weekend said in a 60 Minutes interview, he said that there's going to be severe punishment if that is the case, and they're investigating it. And look, this thing, you get controversial. Any opinion that you have about this beyond the facts is going to rub people the wrong way. So I'm not going to infuse my opinion into it, but I'm going to tell you this. Saudi Arabia and the U.S. have a much tighter relationship than most of us know about and believe. It's the foundation on which the petrodollar was created, and it's the reason single-handedly the United States dollar is a reserve currency for the whole world. All right. And there's some interesting stuff about the story. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I'll tell you this. If the investigation shows that, he was murdered, that it's going to be very bad because Donald Trump's going to have to put sanctions on him. Congress is pushing him to do it. And if he doesn't, Congress said they're going to do it themselves. All right. So this thing could really spiral out of control. Saudi Arabia said, if you guys put sanctions on us, we're ready to respond. And they said it'd be like taking a knife and stabbing yourself with it. I'm not making this stuff up. This is what was said. And all of this translates to volatility for oil. Saudi Arabia said, look, you guys do this, we're going to make the oil go up to $100. How do you make oil go up to $100? What do? You got to cut supply. If you cut supply, you're cutting your own revenue, which goes against what you should be doing for your people as a leader of a country. All right. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's off the table. But all this translates to uncertainty and bullishness for oil prices. And it comes at a very welcome time as oil is down a lot. So in this week's markets, oil, look for volatility. Look for some kind of up and down. It's going to take buy stops, take sell stops. We had a very nice trendy downward move where we could just about sell any rally, and it worked well the last couple of weeks. I think that's going to start to change this week. It's going to be a little bit tougher to trade oil, so prepare yourself for it. All right. Saudi Arabia is having the Saudi investment, what was it? The C was committee or conference, Saudi investment conference. I think that's it. I'm pretty confident that's it. And a lot of people are boycotting it over this journalist disappearance. And it's kind of interesting that it abbreviates to SIC, SIC. So a CEO of a big bank boycotted it. A lot of other investors are boycotting it that would normally be there. And so this isn't really good. All right. This is just another thing that we throw into the already volatile market that we have to keep tabs with. Look for any news reports. They're called tape bombs, which means something that gets dropped on the news that's significant and can move the markets. That's the kind of day we're going to have. And it's coming at a time where the S&P is going to be fighting for its life to hold support. It's going to be interesting. So in today's session, trade less volatility, be more patient, and take less trades and get paid quicker. If you got a profit, get paid. Friday, I was trading the S&P 500 at a 10-handle profit. All right. And I got stopped at break even on that trade. Unforgivable, inexcusable, absolutely outright stupid. All right. And I did that. So I understand emotionally you're going to get sucked into this market and following price action. And it sounds nuts. If I told you that in August, you guys would ask for my address to come over and slap me. But you look at what happened on Friday, 10 handles was nothing. 10 handles felt like 2 points. And so I got greedy. And I paid the price by losing profit that I could have had, which is actually worse than getting paid smaller, or even me losing profit I have and getting stopped out on a trade at break even is worse than a losing trade to start with. All right, because on a losing trade, I was wrong. I got the thing wrong. All right, that's not a lack of discipline. You're allowed to be wrong as a trader. In fact, you're going to be more wrong than you have ever been at any other job trading. What was bad about that is the fact that the lack of discipline prevented me from capitalizing, and that changed the whole dynamic around. That kind of threw me off. I ended the day there. All right. What else do we have? Sears files for bankruptcy, and Eddie Lampart's own money is now vanishing. They're closing down a bunch of stores. He's a hedge fund manager, took control of the company in 2005, hasn't done well, shutting down 142 stores. Stock symbol SHLD, down 16% pre-market. RIP to to Sears. Another American retailer going belly up or close to it. I'll tell you guys this. Sears is a great case study for anyone who's ever been taught, just every time a stock is down, buy it. Just buy it and hold it. Close your eyes, average in. It's got to come back. No, it doesn't. All right, look at Sears. Pull up a chart of Sears on a daily. Look at the last 5 years and do a little mental calculation. Pretend to buy every single dip. See what happens to your money. It's gone. And I'll tell you this, it's the world seems easier than it is in investing because you're like, oh, I'll just buy anything and it comes back. But that's a bias because the only place money comes back is companies that are still in business. And there are more companies that have gone out of business than exist today. And you just need to catch one of those companies going out of business to blow out your whole account. So averaging in works until it works. And then when it doesn't, it has a way of really ruining years of gains in short periods of time. Be careful out there. This market ain't no joke. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Manage your risk, trade like a trade pro. I'm going to turn around, open the trade room, and give our traders some trade ideas, levels, stops, etc. I encourage you guys to join us in our trading room. It comes with a 14-day money-back guarantee. So it's literally risk-free. These days of volatility, worth the shot. See you guys in there. Have a great day. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Marky. All right, trade pros. So we're getting some volatility here in oil, as you can see on the pit open. It's looking a little bearish. Rallies are shallow and getting sold, and we're getting new lows. In terms of the S&P 500, I'll give you guys some levels where I think is a good trade idea to watch for and try to qualify a trade in those zones. And ultimately, I think the following. I think in today's session, hang on one sec. I think in today's session, we're going to have opportunity. You just got to have the right levels. So let me give you the levels, and let's get started with the